In Eastern Europe lies a country that many travelers still overlook. A place where mountains, legends, and history have shaped the landscape. A country where the rugged Carpathians rise high above ancient forests and quiet monasteries hide among the hills. Over 2 weeks, I travel across this breathtaking country, visiting medieval towns and imposing castles, as well as the capital city and the Black Sea coastline. I'll take you to hidden gems and show you the beauty of this special land, and if you're lucky, you might even come face to face with wild bears. Welcome to Romania. I start my journey not far from the Hungarian border, in the town of Carei. This town is known for its impressive castle, built in 1794 on the site where a large medieval fortress once stood. As the dangerous conflicts had passed, an elegant Baroque residence was constructed. A century later, it was rebuilt again in a neo-Gothic style, with towers and decorative elements that it still retains today. Inside, a large number of rooms can be visited, including the ballroom, music, and sitting rooms, as well as the bedrooms. Part of the building is open to the public and offers more information about local history, art, and traditional crafts. Surrounding the castle is a large park that offers beautiful views, peace, and nature. You'll also find the old stables and an 1888 water tower that once supplied the castle with water. Opposite the castle stands an imposing war monument unveiled in 1964. It marks the last piece of land that was liberated during the Second World War. It is a memorial to the soldiers who fought here for their country. After a short walk through the town, where a few historic buildings can still be found besides the castle, I continue my journey eastward. The landscape in this part of the country is very flat, with vast fields stretching to the horizon, where farmers still pass by with a horse and wagon. It's nothing unusual here, and is a reminder of the simple life in the Romanian countryside. I continue my route eastward and make a stop in the village of Medieșu Aurit, home to around 6,200 inhabitants. From the air, you can clearly see that villages in the countryside are often built along existing roads, which makes them very narrow and long. Here, it is also clear that faith still plays an important role in daily life. Each religious community built its own church, which is why you'll find many places of worship in the villages and surrounding area, sometimes even right next to each other. At the heart of the village stands the large ruin of an old castle that was first mentioned in the year 1278. In the 17th century, it was rebuilt in Renaissance style, with a square layout and an inner courtyard. The castle once had luxurious interiors with gilded ceilings, something the village's name still refers to today. After changing owners, wars, and long periods of neglect, the castle fell into ruin, and now only the remains of its walls are still standing. It is a place with a deep history that shows how Romania has developed over the centuries. From here, the flat land begins to gain more relief, and I start my journey through the Carpathians. The strong presence of faith is also clearly visible in the mountains, where many monasteries can still be found, both old and new. The first one I visit is the first and only women's monastery in this region. Construction of this relatively small wooden church began in 2004, and the wooden structure was raised in just 1 month. Inside, it is beautifully decorated. In 2006, the complex officially received the status of a monastery, and its 4 large bells, weighing between 200 and 500 kilograms, emphasize the importance of this site. It's not a major tourist attraction, but it's definitely worth a stop to get a glimpse into the religious life of this region, and of course, to enjoy the peace and quiet that this place radiates. A place that is much more touristy is the Mare Cemetery, which may be one of the most unique cemeteries in the world. The brightly colored wooden crosses, painted with scenes from the life of the deceased and accompanied by personal, often humorous or cheeky texts, make this a cheerful place, just as the name suggests. A local woodcarver started this tradition in the 1930s, and over time it grew into a vibrant and colorful display. The nearby church, originally built in 1886, was recently completely rebuilt. Its tower was raised, and the church itself was given a colorful appearance that perfectly matches the cemetery. The building is not only beautiful from the outside, the interior is richly decorated with ornaments, paintings, and wood carvings. Around the cemetery and in the village, you'll find many stalls selling traditional items such as clothing and food. The village also has another characteristic church, built entirely of wood, with a tall tower and a beautifully decorated interior. It's a lovely way to end my first day in Romania, where I've already been able to get a good look at the life and culture of this region. I start the second day much farther south, in the city of Baia Mare, where I take a peaceful morning walk. This is the largest city in Maramureș and has around 136,000 inhabitants. The city became important in the Middle Ages, thanks to its mining of gold, silver, and other metals. In the middle of the city stands the Stephen's Tower, built in the 15th century. It was once a bell tower belonging to a church and is now mainly a viewpoint and the symbol of the city. On the same square, you'll also find a Catholic church that was originally built by the Jesuits at the beginning of the 18th century. It was once the religious and intellectual center of the city, but over time, it evolved and remained an important part of urban life. It's not a large church, but its beautiful Baroque interior is definitely worth a look. Walking through the old city center perfectly captures the atmosphere of old Europe, with pastel-colored houses, cobbled streets, and a traditional market where local goods are sold. Driving through the Carpathians, you notice the typical haystacks scattered across the landscape. These are an important part of the traditional agricultural life in this area, and have been built the same way for centuries. Because of their shape, water runs off immediately, keeping the hay inside dry. With short summers and harsh winters, properly storing hay is essential for the livestock. It makes driving through the Carpathians even more beautiful, as you can still see the old agricultural techniques that are characteristic of this landscape. My next stop is one of the most beautiful wooden monastery complexes in Romania, Mănăstirea Bârsana. A monastery has stood on this site since the 17th century, but during the communist period, it fell into disrepair and had to be completely rebuilt. The current complex was reconstructed in 1998, and although it is relatively new, the buildings were built in the traditional style, both in materials and construction techniques. This preserves the typical old atmosphere it once had. The highest point is the impressive church with its tall, narrow spire. Inside, it has a completely different style from the earlier churches I visited. With its white interior, it is also much smaller. But the complex has many other remarkable features, including the gate tower, pavilions, and the rooms where the nuns live. It's a wonderful place to walk around and enjoy the peace. And with these unique buildings, it almost feels like stepping into a fairy tale. It is a true symbol of culture and history, and offers an authentic experience of traditional life in this region. From this spiritual place, I head deeper into nature and take the cable car in the village of Staţiunea Borşa. This area lies at the foot of the Rodna mountain range and has developed strongly as a mountain and winter sports destination. The cable car takes me about 500 meters higher to the mountain station, where a small mountain hut offers magnificent wide views of the landscape. From here, I begin a beautiful hike to a small mountain lake, the Tăul Știol. This area is part of Rodna National Park, one of the largest protected natural areas in northern Romania. Covering roughly 47,000 hectares, the park was created to protect the unique flora, fauna, and glacial mountain landscape. After walking about 4 kilometers, I reach the mountain lake, hidden away and surrounded by rugged peaks, including the Gargalo summit. The lake was formed at the end of the last ice age and sits at around 1,850 meters. It's a stunning place, and when the sun shines on the water, it turns a deep blue, almost unnatural in color. Being completely alone in this wild landscape is incredible. a place where you can listen to the silence and feel how pure this breathtaking mountain environment truly is. I follow the same path back, and after about 2 kilometers, I take a different route. I won't make the last cable car down, so I decide to walk all the way back to the valley station. The first part of the trail is very steep, but after about a kilometer, I reach the next stop, Cascada Kyler, also known as the Horse's Waterfall. At about 90 meters, it is one of the highest waterfalls in the country, with water cascading down in several tiers. After descending another 4 kilometers through a forested landscape, I arrive at the parking area after a beautiful hike of more than 3.5 hours. From the valley station, I begin the drive up the Prislop Pass, where a monastery stands at the highest point. This one was also built in the 1990s, replacing the older chapels that were lost to weather and war. With the sun already set, I drive the last few kilometers and prepare for another new day. The morning slowly breaks in the mountains, and the sun slips gently through the trees. After spending a night in the heart of nature, I pack my things and continue my route to the town of Vatra Dornei. This town is best known as a spa resort, which developed at the end of the 19th and the beginning of the 20th century. The natural springs found here were often said to have healing properties. Many of the old buildings along the Dorna River date back to that era, including hotels, pavilions, and even a historic casino. In the heart of the town, you'll find a beautiful park where several springs still remain. One of them is still used by locals to collect water, while others, like this distinctive tower, have been waiting for a thorough renovation for some time. Walking through this historic town, it's easy to imagine how it must have flourished a century ago, thanks to its elegant architecture. In recent years, many of these buildings have been restored to bring back the charm of its golden age. About 30 kilometers east of the city lies a remarkable rock formation called Pietrele Doamnei. I make a short climb to the top of the rocks to get the best view. Because the surrounding area is fairly gentle and covered with pine forests, these 2 imposing stone pillars stand out dramatically in the landscape. The formation can be seen from far away, and from the viewpoint you get a stunning panoramic view. The name literally means the Lady's Stones, and refers to the story that the wife of the Moldavian ruler Petru Rareș hid here in the 16th century when the region was under attack. The stones were said to have protected her, and ever since, the massif has carried this name. The loop I walk is only a few kilometers long, with the first part of the climb being relatively easy. The route leading back toward the hotel is much more challenging. On this part, you climb right along and through the rock formation, and you need to be in good shape and sure-footed. The views along the way are spectacular, and from every angle the experience feels completely different. Even from the parking area near the hotel, you get a beautiful view of this unique formation. It's a wonderful place with an interesting history, and definitely worth a stop to admire these remarkable rocks, even if it's only from the parking lot. I continue my route northward, weaving between cows on the road, before making a short stop at the top of Pasul Palma. This pass is relatively unknown, but it offers a beautiful view over the surrounding valleys and mountain peaks. You'll find a few small food stalls here, a large hand-shaped sculpture, and a big swing to enjoy the fresh mountain air after the climb. It's the perfect spot to take a break and rest for a while. On the north side of the pass, you'll find one of the most impressive monasteries in the region, Mănăstirea Sucevița. As you drive past it, it looks almost like an old fortress, with its high walls and fortified corner towers. But once you pass through the gate, a vibrant and colorful world opens up. It is considered one of the highlights of the region and was built at the end of the 16th century. The church is entirely painted, both inside and out, with extensive frescoes. What makes this place truly unique is that the exterior paintings have been remarkably well preserved, something that doesn't exist anywhere else in the region on this scale. Once inside the church, you hardly know where to look. There are so many different scenes that you could spend hours here taking it all in. With the massive defensive walls, nearly 6 meters high, and the watchtowers on each corner, it genuinely feels as if you've stepped into a medieval courtyard, which makes it even more extraordinary. Since 2010, this beautiful and unique monastery has been listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, along with 6 other painted churches in the region. It's truly a place where art, history, and spirituality come together, and absolutely a spot you should visit during your journey through this country. After this remarkable complex, I drive many more kilometers through small villages where time seems to stand still, surrounded by beautiful mountain scenery. I end the day in the mountains, on a mountain pass where there is a small church and several large crosses. You can also find the remains of a few wartime bunkers here, with concrete sections still protruding from the ground. It's a place where you can reflect not only on history, but also on yet another beautiful day in this stunning country. I have now arrived further south in the Carpathians, at Lacul Bicaz. Located in the middle of the mountains, this is the largest reservoir in the country, stretching about 25 kilometers long. Construction of the dam began in 1950 and took 10 years, making it one of the largest engineering projects of the communist period. From the lake, I head into the mountains on the western side, where a beautiful mountain route runs through Sielau National Park. This national park was established in 1990 and is located in the eastern Carpathians. It is known for its characteristic mountain massif, with vertical rock towers, deep valleys, and vast forests. At the top of the range, there is a meteorological station with a long, steep staircase that leads to the summit. For many hikers, this is a popular climb due to the spectacular views and the long stairway to the top. However, the climb is long and requires a full day, so I skip it today. Along the route, there are several beautiful viewpoints where you can enjoy views over the lake where I started the day. From the higher parts, I leave the mountains and head to the town of Piatra Neamț. This town is one of the oldest and most picturesque in the region. Upon arrival, I notice a cable car running over the town to a viewpoint, which I certainly don't miss. The cable car is almost 2 kilometers long and covers a height difference of about 300 meters. From the gondola, you get a beautiful view of the town that gives you a completely different perspective. Once at the top, the view over the town is truly stunning. In the summer, this is a popular spot to enjoy the view, hike, or go mountain biking. While in winter, you can ski and enjoy the snow. I walk back to the town to visit the small old center. In the old central square, you'll find several notable buildings, including a bell tower. This tower, about 19 meters high, was built around 1500 as part of the town's defenses and as a symbol of power. It served as a lookout to quickly spot enemy movements and as a defensive point, with small firing slits in the walls. On the square, there is also a church from the same period and a 19th century mansion that is now used as a museum. It's a lovely town to wander through and definitely worth seeing from above as well from the cable car. I drive back into the mountains to one of the most spectacular places in the eastern Carpathians, the Bicaz Gorge. This is one of the most breathtaking landscapes in the Romanian Carpathians. Here, the Bicaz River cuts its way between vertical rock walls that in some places rise up to 300 meters high. Driving through this stunning gorge, it almost feels like the rocks above the road are about to touch each other. The passage is so narrow. In In the gorge, I take a short walk to a nearby side canyon where several suspension bridges are located. From here, you get a beautiful view of a striking rock that juts out like a sharp peak between the green mountains. I take a short hike of a few kilometers, but you can also choose to start longer walks from this point. Because this road is one of the most famous panoramic routes in the country, there are naturally many small stalls along the gorge. The contrast between these tiny stands and the enormous rock walls around them is almost surreal. This gorge is not only a geological wonder, but also a place where you can really feel the raw power of the Carpathians. A dramatic landscape that everyone should experience at least once by driving through it. On the western side of the gorge, there is a small mountain lake where you can go boating, and several food stalls are located nearby. It's a nice spot for a short stop to grab a bite before continuing on. Through many small, picturesque villages, I drive to the town of Miercurea Ciuc, where I end the day with a pleasant evening walk. This town is the center of the Hungarian community that has lived in the Eastern Carpathians for centuries. They once served as border guards for the Kingdom of Hungary and have maintained a strong historical and cultural identity, including speaking Hungarian. In the town, there is a striking contrast between the old 19th century center and the many communist-era buildings built around it. The next morning, this contrast is also clearly visible from the air, with the concentrated high-rise buildings standing behind the old town center. In the Carpathians, you sometimes come across truly remarkable places. Deep in the forests of the Harghita Mountains lies Lacul Sfânta Ana, one of the most special lakes in Romania. It was formed inside an extinct volcanic crater and sits at an altitude of about 950 meters. It is also the only natural volcanic lake in Romania, making it the perfect stop for photographers, hikers, and anyone who wants to experience the silence of the mountains. My second stop of the day is the town of Târgu Secuiesc, also known as Kezdi, a name that dates back to the Hungarian era. Here too, the Hungarian community and culture are still strongly present. The enormous square in the old center immediately stands out, with the Reformed church that was built in the 15th and 16th century. But the entire square is surrounded by beautiful facades, many of which have been restored, including the imposing 19th century town hall. This neoclassical building dominates the square with its elegant appearance. If it weren't for the modern cars in the streets, you would think you had stepped 150 years back in time, to the days when small towns like this were thriving. It's wonderful to see how historical cities like this are steadily being restored instead of being demolished for new developments, something that happened all too often in Western Europe. I continue eastward and make a short stop at the highest point of the Muşat Pass. Here I see the first warning sign for bears, and I imagine how incredible it would be to encounter one. And not even 5 minutes later, I spot one by the roadside, calmly sitting behind the guardrail, looking around. It's such a special moment to experience, and honestly, one of the reasons I wanted to do a road trip through Romania in the first place. After this incredible encounter, I stop in the village of Soveia, where a mausoleum and monument are located. It was built in memory of the thousands of Romanian soldiers who died during the battles in Vrancea in the First World War. The names of the identified soldiers are engraved on stone plaques. Most remarkable of all are the remains of around 2,000 soldiers that are visibly stored here. Their skulls and bones stacked together, reminding you of the brutal battles they fought over a century ago, battles they never returned from. It's a deeply moving monument that is often overlooked, but absolutely worth a visit. From here, I leave the mountains behind and head into the flatlands on my way to the coast. Driving across the country, you see the same scene over and over again, a nation in motion, where the infrastructure is rapidly being improved. From above, you can truly see the scale of it. kilometers of new motorways cutting straight through the landscape, designed to significantly reduce travel times between major cities. It's an important step for the country as it continues to strengthen its economy and work toward a promising future. On my way to the eastern side of the country, I spend the night in the city of Brăila, located on the banks of the Danube. It is one of the oldest and most important port cities in Romania and has played a strategic role for centuries because of its location. The deep and wide river here allowed even large sea vessels to dock, which made it a major trade center in the 18th and 19th centuries, where goods from the Ottoman Empire and Europe converged. In the historic center, I walk among 19th century buildings, some restored and some not. It's still fascinating to see how, in the middle of the city, some buildings have been completely reclaimed by nature. After a pleasant walk along the Danube and through the old town, I make my final stop of the day just outside the city. Here stands one of the most impressive infrastructure projects in Eastern Europe, the Brăila Bridge. This bridge forms a strategic link between the Black Sea, Moldova, and Ukraine. It is the largest bridge project in Romania and was officially opened in 2023. With a main span of 1,120 meters and steel pylons reaching 192 meters high, it is one of the longest suspension bridges in Europe. It is also the third bridge in Romania connecting the western part of the country with the eastern side of the Black Sea, eliminating the need for long detours or ferry crossings. It is an enormous structure, especially when considering all the connecting roads, and a stunning piece of engineering to see. It also provides an easy way to continue my route toward the Black Sea. I always thought the land toward the Black Sea was completely flat, but nothing could be further from the truth. Even here you'll find mountains, with the highest peak reaching 467 meters. I'm driving through the Măcin Mountains National Park, the oldest mountain range in Romania and one of the oldest still visible ranges in all of Europe. These mountains were formed over 300 million years ago, which explains their gentle relief. Those striking rock formations can still be found everywhere. Because of the summer drought, the landscape here almost feels like a desert, and the villages along the road look like small oases in this dry environment. From the city of Brăila, it's about a 2-hour drive to the Black Sea, where I first visit the oldest city in the country, Histria. This ancient settlement was founded around 657 BC by Greek colonists, making it the first Greek colony on the Black Sea coast in what is now Romania. It quickly developed into an important trading hub between local tribes in the Greek world. Around the beginning of the first millennium, the city came under Roman rule, after which it was rebuilt and modernized. Bath complexes, a forum, new residential quarters, and drainage systems were constructed. In the late Roman period, defense became crucial, and a heavily fortified wall was added. You can still clearly see how this wall was reinforced with all sorts of stones. Much of what survives today dates from the Roman era. Over the centuries, the sea gradually retreated, causing the city to lose its harbor. Eventually, in the 7th century, Histria was completely abandoned and became buried under sand and soil. Part of the ruins has been excavated, but a large portion still lies hidden underground, making it difficult to estimate the true size of the ancient complex. Next to the archaeological site, there is also a museum that delves deeper into the history of the ancient city. It offers insights into daily life during both the Greek and Roman periods, and displays many archaeological finds: statues, columns, gravestones, pottery, and even the original Roman drainage pipes used in the city. It's fascinating to see such advanced systems from over 1,000 years ago, long before they would reappear in Europe again. Histria offers a completely different perspective on Romania, showing how life here already flourished some 1,500 years ago along the shores of the Black Sea. It's a beautiful place to walk through and truly feel the weight of history. South of this historic site lies one of the country's best-known and oldest seaside resorts, Mamaia sits on a narrow strip of land between the Black Sea and Lake Sucevița and was established in 1906. Within a century, it grew into Romania's most popular summer resort, with wide sandy beaches and summer temperatures that often rise above 30 degrees. This beach area lies just north of Constanța, the city I'm visiting next. Along its coastline, you'll find several beloved beaches as well. I start my visit at Modern Beach, located on the northeastern edge of the old center. From here, I walk back into the city, making my way through the historic district and passing the Greek church, one of the oldest and most important churches in Constanța. The Greek merchant community was very active around the harbor and built this impressive church as a symbol of their presence. A short walk from here brings me to the central Ovidius Square. The square stands on the site of the ancient city of Tomis, founded by the Greeks and later taken over by the Romans. It is named after the Roman poet Ovid, who spent his final years in exile here. Around the square you'll see historic townhouses and former warehouses, as well as the National Museum, an imposing building, though unfortunately closed today. But one remarkable landmark is open. On the edge of the old town stands the Constanța Casino, with its elegant and majestic silhouette, easily one of the most iconic buildings on the Romanian Riviera. The moment you step inside, you immediately feel the grandeur of a place that was built more than a century ago. Constructed in 1910, during the golden age of the seaside resorts, it attracted wealthy visitors from across Europe. After many years of decay, the casino was restored and reopened to the public in 2025. It is truly spectacular to explore. The grand hall with its tall windows and stage, the sweeping staircase, and the smaller ornamental rooms, all breathtaking to walk through. The casino is a stunning symbol of the coastline and a reminder of the glamorous era this shore once experienced. I take another pleasant walk through the city, where old and new blend together seamlessly. Here, alongside traces of the distant past, you can also clearly see the marks of the communist era, with many large concrete blocks and wide streets that have largely shaped the city's appearance. Fortunately, many historic buildings have survived, still giving some character to this largest city on the Black Sea. After a day by the sea, I leave the coastline behind and begin my journey toward the capital. Along the way, I cross the Danube once again at the city of Cernavodă. Here stands one of the oldest railway bridges in the country, built at the end of the 19th century. It was designed by a famous Romanian engineer known for his innovative bridge designs at the time. It's a beautiful steel bridge, with pillars adorned with ornaments and massive statues. Above all, it symbolizes the innovation and grandeur of an era when the country was showcasing its industrial and economic strength. With the sun setting, I drive the last hours toward the capital, arriving late in the evening. I am welcomed by the colorful lights of the Pasul Palma, a perfect way to end the day and prepare for a new day in Romania's largest city. To start the day in Bucharest, I take a lovely morning walk through Tineretului Park, located on the southern edge of the city center. It's a beautiful, modern park that has been completely renovated in recent years, offering a true green oasis in an otherwise busy city. Just north of the park lies one of the country's most important military memorials, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. This massive monument was inaugurated in 1923 as a national symbol for the many unidentified soldiers who lost their lives during the First World War. Surrounded by Carol I Park, it stands on an elevated plateau, making this impressive structure visible from many points throughout the city. In the park surrounding the monument, you'll find numerous works of art, a theater built in the Roman style, and several beautiful fountains. From this beautiful park, I head into the city, starting on Boulevard Unirii. This exceptionally wide corridor runs through the heart of Bucharest for about 3 kilometers and was created during the large-scale urban planning of the 1980s. The street is lined with communist-era buildings, characterized by their strict, symmetrical appearance, mostly in concrete. With the large billboards atop the buildings and the many fountains running down the center of the boulevard, it's easy to feel transported back to the communist era. At the end of the boulevard stands one of the city's most imposing structures, the Palace of the Parliament. Construction of this enormous building began in 1984, but was only completed after the fall of communism. With more than 1,000 rooms spread over 12 above-ground and 8 underground floors, it is the third largest administrative building in the world. The scale of the building is truly overwhelming, and seeing it up close gives a sense of the impact of an era that still shapes the city's streetscape. From there, I continue through Tishmigiu Park into the city center, taking a pleasant walk through the streets. The imprint of communism is still visible in the urban landscape. It's a rather gray city, but fortunately, alongside the concrete blocks, many beautiful, stately buildings have survived. As I mentioned, this is also the largest city in the country, with over 1.8 million residents. It began in the 15th century as a small settlement along the river and grew over the centuries into an important trading hub. In the 19th century, it became the official capital of the Principality of Wallachia and later of United Romania. Unfortunately, I visit on a Monday, which means many places are closed, and the city feels quieter than usual. One of the most beautiful landmarks is partially open, the Romanian Athenaeum. This stunning domed building was inaugurated in 1888, funded by thousands of citizens who all contributed to its construction. Upon entering the main hall, you immediately sense its elegance. Everything is richly decorated with gold leaf, paintings, and intricate ornaments. The highlight is the magnificent concert hall itself, adorned with frescoes that tell the story of the country's rich history and culture. The hall seats around 800 people and is widely regarded as one of the most beautiful concert halls in Europe. And I can certainly understand why. The striking red interior, the abundant gold leaf, and the surrounding paintings are truly breathtaking. It's not just a place to enjoy music, but also a space to experience the rich history and culture of Romania. Next to this imposing building, there is still a small area in the city where you can find the old historic center, with narrow winding alleys, compact buildings, and the kind of traditional facades you expect in ancient town centers. It's only a small part of the city, largely overshadowed by the gray high-rises from the communist era. After a long and wonderful day in this remarkable city, I continue my journey through the country, once again in search of new and special places to discover. The next day, I drive a long route from the capital back into the Carpathians. Near the city of Buzău lies one of the most spectacular natural phenomena in the country, and even in Europe. Spread across several locations, you can find the mud volcanoes. With a short walk, you can visit the two largest fields, where dozens of small mud volcanoes rise from the ground. Some look more like craters, while others resemble classic volcanoes with sharp cones and small streams of bubbling mud. They form when natural gas rises from deep underground and pushes a mixture of mud and water to the surface. As a result, there are no dramatic eruptions, just constant gas bubbles escaping through the mud. There are a few similar places elsewhere on Earth, but this region is one of the most active mud volcano zones in the world. Due to the high salt content of the mud and the unstable ground, nothing grows here, creating a vast open area surrounded by greenery. Walking through this almost lunar landscape, with its small bubbling craters, feels truly special, especially because it's such a unique phenomenon that you rarely encounter anywhere else. For a moment, it feels as if you've stepped onto an entirely different planet. From this remarkable geological site, I continue deeper into the Carpathians and pass a striking lake. Barajul Siriu is a reservoir created by a dam built between 1975 and 1994, standing 122 meters tall and stretching 570 meters across. The lake was formed to regulate the water supply, protect the lowlands from flooding, and generate energy. It's an extremely peaceful region, and the mountain road that winds around the lake offers beautiful panoramic views. The reservoir is also used for recreation. While flying above, I spot a group of paddleboarders enjoying the scenery from a completely different perspective. Unfortunately, the weather turns, and for the first time during my journey through Romania, the rain begins to fall. Between the passing rain showers, I visit one of the best preserved Saxon fortified churches in Transylvania, the fortified Church of Harman. It was founded in the 13th century by German settlers who were invited by the Hungarian king to defend and develop the region. The result was a Romanesque Gothic fortification that was later adapted into full Gothic style. The church itself features Romanesque Gothic elements and a tall bell tower that served for centuries as a lookout over the flatlands of Țara Borșei. You can climb the tower, where the bells and the old clockwork are clearly visible, and from the top you get a beautiful view over the fortified village. The church is surrounded by high defensive walls, once lined with buildings on the inside. Many of the walls and towers are still accessible, and walking through them truly feels like stepping into the medieval shooting galleries, looking out over the land that once needed defending. The complex was an entire community in itself, with a schoolroom, a music room, and various houses built into the fortifications. Even the old chapel became part of the defensive structure. The only parts of it that remain today are the wall paintings, visible only where no openings were cut to fend off attackers. As you wander through this fortress, it genuinely feels like stepping back into the Middle Ages. It perfectly reflects the Saxon heritage of the region. Since 1990, it has been listed on the UNESCO tentative list, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if this remarkable site is eventually granted full World Heritage status. Before visiting the city of Brașov, which lies not far from the fortress, I first head a bit deeper into the mountains to explore the Valea Cetății cave. The cave was only discovered in 1949, when a collapse exposed an entrance to an underground chamber. After major restoration works in 2010, including new walkways and lighting, it was open to the public. A long tunnel leads you into the main hall, an impressive chamber rising roughly 30 meters high. Since I'm visiting the cave in the evening and outside the high season, I receive a private tour. But during summer it can get quite busy. The cave has an almost magical atmosphere and continues to change over time, as dripping water keeps forming new structures. The next morning, I wake up slowly above the clouds. It's the perfect moment to ease into the day and begin the descent toward the city of Brașov. I take a beautiful morning walk through this city, which was founded in the 13th century by Saxon settlers. The area had already been inhabited by Romanian and Secoli communities, but the Saxons turned it into a fortified trading city. You can still see that today in the large sections of medieval walls that remain intact around the old town. On the western side of the city, two historic gates still stand. The She Gate, built in 1828, replaced the older Catherine Gate, which had become too narrow for the growing and changing traffic. The Catherine Gate itself was built in 1559 by the Tailors Guild and remains the best preserved medieval gate in the city. From here, I continue north and climb up to the Black Tower, which rises high above Brașov. This is one of the 4 watchtowers located outside the city walls on strategic rocky outcrops. As early as the 14th century, it served as a lookout to spot approaching enemy troops. Today, it offers one of the best viewpoints over the city. With its sea of red rooftops and the black church dominating the center, you truly feel as if you're looking down on a medieval town. Following the old city walls on the northwest side, I make my way into the center. The city once had 3 kilometers of fortifications with 7 bastions, watchtowers, and gates, making it one of the strongest defensive systems in all of Transylvania. With its beautiful squares and richly decorated facades throughout the historic center, Brașov is without a doubt one of the most impressive cities I've visited in Romania so far. it is absolutely worth a stop on any trip through the country. Via a beautiful mountain road with winding paths, I drive toward my next destination, a bit further south near the town of Slănic. This area is home to one of the largest and most impressive salt mines in Europe. To visit the mine, you are first taken by shuttle bus through long underground tunnels until you reach a depth of about 200 meters. Once inside, you can hardly believe what you're seeing. You enter an enormous underground space that feels almost unreal. The halls inside the mine reach heights of around 70 meters and are more than 30 meters wide. What's even more astonishing is that behind every corner you enter another chamber, each one even larger than the last. It's a vast network of multiple caverns, each with something different to offer. There are small sports courts, mini golf areas, and even an entire hall filled with inflatables and small cars for children to ride around in. The mine is also used for therapeutic treatments for asthma and respiratory conditions due to its exceptionally clean air and stable microclimate. You can easily spend hours here, and especially if you're traveling with children. The sheer scale of the mine is almost impossible to capture or describe to someone who hasn't been here. It truly is one of the most extraordinary places I have ever visited. After this breathtaking spot, I drive to my accommodation for the night, where I'll be visiting a remarkable castle tomorrow. Once I arrive in the town of Sinaia, I take a short evening walk through the center. This town is one of the most elegant mountain resorts in the country, set in the Bucegi Mountains. Because of its royal history and monumental architecture, it's often called the Pearl of the Carpathians. In 1695, the Sinaia Monastery was built here, and around it a settlement grew that, in the 19th century, developed into a beloved mountain village. The most striking landmark in this town is Peleș Castle, which I'll be visiting the next morning. This castle was built by King Carol I, who wanted a residence in the Carpathians. This summer residence of the Romanian royal family is one of the most beautiful and most modern historic castles in Europe, constructed between 1873 and 1914. It's seen as a national symbol of modernization, culture, and elegance. You can tour the castle on your own to explore its impressive interior. The Great Hall, located at the heart of the castle, is perhaps the most remarkable space of all. It's a vast room filled with stained glass and exquisite wood carvings. Standing there, you truly don't know where to look first. And on the upper floors, you see this hall from a completely different perspective again. Walking through this enormous castle, which from the outside doesn't even look that big, you move from one stunning room to another, including the armory, the library, the theater hall, and the Moorish room, which with its Arabic influences feels completely different from the rest of the castle. The building is entirely constructed in Neo-Renaissance style with German influences, giving it a fairy tale-like appearance. During its construction, many innovations were introduced, making it incredibly advanced for its time. From the very beginning, it had electricity, central heating, and even one of the first vacuum systems in Europe. Both the castle and its surroundings breathe royal grandeur, framed by the Carpathian Mountains. It's not just a castle, with rooms that remain almost exactly in their original state. It's a true time capsule that could be preserved for centuries to come. From this impressive building, I drive into the mountains to visit another remarkable place. Unfortunately, the paved road leading into the mountains is closed by the police, forcing me to take a tricky detour over a rocky and sandy path. At the end of this route, I also encounter police, so I have to change my plan. I decide to drive along Lake Bolboci and climb into the mountains from the end of the valley. Soon, I realize that the paths can be dangerous, not only because of the steep slopes and uneven ground, but also because of the animals. I am attacked by a donkey that does not appreciate my presence, though fortunately, the cows are much friendlier. It's about a 3-kilometer hike to the top, where the unique Romanian Sphinx awaits. A massive rock formation that, probably shaped by erosion, resembles a human-like face overlooking the plateau. Surrounding this formation are countless myths suggesting it was a sacred place in prehistoric times. Others consider it a power spot, a source of energy, or even proof that vanished civilizations lived here long before modern humans. Because of these fascinating stories, it was a place I really wanted to visit during my journey. And although the rock formation itself isn't necessarily extraordinary, it is truly special because of the history and legends surrounding it. I hike back along the same path to my car. Since I'm not sure if the paved road has reopened, I also visit the cave located in this valley. The Ialomiței cave is large and spectacular, with a small chapel at the entrance offering a unique welcome. It's an enormous cave that seems to go on forever, stretching about 1,500 meters, much of which can be explored via stairs, narrow passages, and bridges. The route takes you past vast halls, underground lakes, and waterfalls, making the experience even more remarkable. Archaeological findings indicate that this cave was used as a shelter and ritual site by humans thousands of years ago. It's an impressive experience that shows the Carpathians are just as fascinating beneath the surface as they are above. Fortunately, the road is open again, so I don't have to navigate another 20 kilometers of rocky paths. At the end of the day, I drive a section of the route I had originally planned and finish my day at the foot of the mountain. The next day, heavy rain is pouring down. The perfect moment for me to look for something indoors. Along my route, which runs through the beautiful Dâmbovițioare Gorge, lies one of Romania's most famous places, Bran Castle. I arrive early, just before the crowds begin to swarm in. The first mentions of this castle date back to 1377, when the Hungarian king Louis I granted the Saxon residents of Brașov permission to build a stone fortress to replace the old wooden defensive post. Its purpose was not only defense, but also the collection of tolls and the control of passage from Wallachia into Transylvania. This castle is especially famous for its supposed connection to Vlad Tepes, also known as Dracula, though no evidence has ever confirmed this link. The castle still embraces the Dracula image proudly, and you'll see plenty of hints of that as you walk through. In 1920, the castle was gifted to Queen Marie of Romania, who had it thoroughly restored and transformed into an elegant summer residence. Today, you can still wander past the centuries-old walls, across the inner courtyard, and through the rooms that continue to breathe history. It's a beautiful piece of Romanian heritage and a stunning castle from the outside. But it does feel a bit unnecessarily overhyped because of the Dracula story. Once back outside, the lines have grown significantly longer, and I'm glad I managed to see the castle in relative peace. After driving many kilometers north, the rain finally stops. I make a stop in the town of Fogarás, strategically located between the cities of Brașov and Sibiu. At the center of the town stands one of the best preserved and most important medieval fortresses in the country, originally built at the end of the 13th century. Already in the 14th century it was rebuilt and strengthened, and during the 16th and 17th centuries it was expanded with thick defensive walls, bastions, and moats, the structure we still see today. Over the centuries, it served as a key residence for the princes of Transylvania, and later was even used as a military base and a prison. Next to this fortress stands another striking building that dominates the town's skyline with its golden domes, the Orthodox Cathedral. It's a relatively new cathedral, completed in the early 2000s. With its typical Neo-Byzantine style and richly decorated exterior, it draws the eye immediately, though inside it feels far more modest and somewhat gray. I continue my journey and make another stop not far from here, in the small village of Curța, where the remarkable ruins of an old monastery are located. Founded in the early 13th century, the monastery was attacked and heavily damaged during the Mongol invasion later that same century. It was rebuilt, remained active until 1474, and was officially dissolved afterwards, slowly falling into ruin. From this point, I descend southward to drive one of the most stunning mountain roads in the world, the Transfăgărășan. Unfortunately, as I head into the mountains, the weather isn't on my side again, and soon I find myself surrounded by clouds. The route was built in the 1970s under the communist regime as a strategic military road to connect the north and south sides of the mountain range in case of a Soviet invasion. Thousands of soldiers worked on it, though sadly, I can hardly see any of their efforts through the mist. After reaching the highest point and beginning the descent, glimpses of the landscape appear, but the rain persists. This 90-kilometer-long road is not only famous for its breathtaking views, but also for the many wild bears that roam here. While I was lucky to spot one at the start of my journey, I come across another on this route, and as I continue down, more appear. It's truly a sight to behold, and a big part of why people come here. Of course, these animals are very dangerous, and feeding them is strictly forbidden. Though they look adorable, you must always treat them with respect and caution. A few kilometers further, the skies begin to clear, and I pass the massive Vidraru Dam, built in the 1960s for energy production, standing 166 meters tall. From the dam, you can climb a bit further up to the Prometheus statue, towering over the area. It's a symbol of knowledge, courage, and sacrifice, perfectly placed in this rugged, impressive landscape. A great moment to reflect on the bears I've seen and the beauty of this road. Even on the final stretch of the route, more bears appear, including a very special sight. A mother with her 2 cubs crossing the road, the little ones playfully exploring their surroundings. It's a beautiful moment to witness, and a perfect ending to what has been a rather rainy but unforgettable day. The next morning, I drive along Lake Vidra, another artificial lake created in the 1960s for hydroelectric power. It's a stunning area surrounded by dense forests and mountain peaks rising sharply above the water. The region is still largely undeveloped, with very little construction, giving you the feeling of being deep in untouched wilderness. From the lake, I continue on to the Transalpina, a mountain road that, much like the Transfăgărășan, is considered one of Romania's most spectacular roads. According to legend, a primitive path already existed here in the Middle Ages, used by shepherds to move their herds, which is why it's also called the King's Road. In the 1930s, the route was rebuilt under the Romanian king, and later the German army further improved it for military transport. Unfortunately, this road too is shrouded in clouds today, but there are still a few clear moments where I can enjoy the views. Even though this is the highest road in the country, reaching over 2,100 meters, it's still far less well known than its famous counterpart. My next stop is Lăinici Monastery, located about 20 kilometers west of the Transalpina in the narrow Jiu Valley. It's a small monastery founded in the 17th century that was partially destroyed and looted during World War I. In the past century, it was fully restored, and a new cathedral was built. It's a centuries-old oasis of silence, where history and spirituality come together in the middle of nature. At the end of the day, I visit Corvin Castle, one of the most beautiful castles in the country. It's a massive structure that has been on my bucket list for a long time, though unfortunately, Parts of it are covered in scaffolding, which changes the atmosphere a bit. A long wooden bridge leads you into the castle, which was first built in the 14th century by the Hungarian king Charles I. A century later, it was greatly expanded by Ioan the Hunedoara, one of the most important military leaders in Central Europe at the time. Built mainly in Gothic and later Renaissance style, it grew over the centuries into a huge palace with steep rooftops, defensive walls, and imposing towers. Inside, you'll find impressive rooms, including the Gothic Knights Hall. You can wander the castle for hours, and it truly feels like stepping back into the Middle Ages. Architecturally, it keeps surprising you. It's easily one of the most impressive castles in Romania, maybe even in all of Europe. Standing in front of it, it even resembles Hogwarts a bit. It looks like it could have been used straight out of a Harry Potter movie. As the sun sets, I drive a short route in the evening and pass the remains of an ancient Roman city founded as the capital of Dacia by Emperor Trajan in the 2nd century. With an estimated population of over 20,000 people, it once had an amphitheater, a basilica, and multiple temple complexes. It's a beautiful and historic way to end the day. I begin my day in the quiet town of Baia Herculane, surrounded by the mountains of the Cerna Valley. This little town is one of the oldest spa resorts in Europe and was founded by the Romans around the year 153 AD. There are about 18 thermal springs here with temperatures between 38 and 60 degrees Celsius. The sulfur and mineral-rich waters are mainly used to treat rheumatic conditions, skin problems, and for rehabilitation. Although it was considered the finest and most beautiful spa resort in Europe for almost 2,000 years, many of its historic buildings fell into decay after 1990. In recent years, however, several structures have been restored, and the town's revival is now in full swing. The beautiful casino has already been renovated, but buildings like the Neptune Baths are still in ruins. The architecture you find here is truly impressive, and it's easy to imagine how the town must have flourished during its golden age. As I mentioned, the town was built by the Romans almost 2 millennia ago. They constructed thermal baths and sanctuaries here, leaving behind inscriptions praising the healing powers of these hot springs. Although most of the bathhouses have fallen into disrepair, the Apollo bathhouse has been turned into a museum where you can walk around and get a real sense of history. This bathhouse dates back to the Roman era and is partially located underground. It consists of several large pools and many individual rooms where people could bathe in private. It's a fascinating place to visit and has something almost magical about it. It's wonderful that in this otherwise abandoned town, there is still one place open where you can experience a glimpse of the old spa resort. It's a town largely in ruins, yet there is a genuine effort to restore it. And even through the decay, you can still feel the grandeur and elegance of times long gone. The landscape in this valley is truly stunning. A few kilometers further north, a real paradise unfolds around a reservoir. Unfortunately, the route through this valley and mountain range is not fully paved, so I continue my journey toward the Serbian border. Along the banks of the Danube, which also forms the border between the two countries, stands an impressive rock sculpture of King Decebalus, the last king of the Dacians. He became known for his resistance against the Roman Empire and symbolizes the national pride and historic struggle for independence of the region. The sculpture was created over a period of about 10 years by 12 climbers and sculptors, and it was completed in 2004. At 55 meters tall, it is the largest rock relief in Europe. After visiting this remarkable monument, I drive a short distance along the Danube and take a brief walk through the city of Drobeta Turnu Severin. This city was also founded by the Romans in the 2nd century and grew into an important Roman settlement with an estimated 40,000 inhabitants. Here, too, you can still find beautiful buildings and an impressive water tower from 1910 that dominates the city's skyline. I head back into the country and drive once more across the Transalpina, hoping for fewer clouds this time. But unfortunately, the weather is even worse than before and visibility is much lower. I end the day at Lake Oasha, on the northern side of the mountain range. This expansive reservoir, located high in the mountains, was also constructed during the communist period to generate energy. It's a peaceful and quiet place to end the day and look ahead to my final days in this beautiful country. I start the day with a beautiful short walk at Rapa Roșii, also known as the Red Ravine. With slopes reaching up to 100 meters high, this formation of clay and sand has been beautifully shaped by erosion. The vertical pillars, towers, and undulating ridges with deep crevices remind you a bit of the American canyons, but in a much more compact and distinctly European form. The rock wall is only about 800 meters long, yet it completely surprises you. A truly unique landscape for the country that you wouldn't expect. My next stop is Alba Iulia, located in the heart of Transylvania. This city is best known for its old, impressive citadel, which dates back to Roman times when it was the largest Roman settlement in Dacia. In the Middle Ages, it served primarily as a fortress for various kingdoms, including the Habsburgs. With its bastions, old city walls, gates, and watchtowers, it is the largest and best preserved fortress in the country, designed in a Baroque and military style. Unfortunately, it's Monday today. So many attractions are closed. Of course, the places of worship remain open. I first visit St. Michael's Cathedral, a Roman Catholic church that is one of the most important medieval buildings in the city, built with Romanesque and Gothic elements. For a small fee, you can climb the tower. Along the way, there is information about the church and the city, as well as some displayed objects. From the top of the tower, you get a beautiful view over the fortified city, allowing you to appreciate it from a completely different perspective. This church was very important because the kings of Transylvania were crowned and buried here, making it a site of great historical significance. Next to this old church stands a much newer Orthodox church, the Coronation Cathedral. The building symbolizes the unification of Transylvania with Romania and was specifically built in 1922 for the coronation of King Ferdinand I and Queen Maria of Romania. With its beautiful gate tower, inner courtyard, and richly decorated church, it is also well worth a visit. Walking around the enormous bastions and city walls, which were designed over the centuries to keep enemies out, you can really feel the history in this city. From here, I drive into the Apuseni Mountains, located in the western part of the country. In the small town of Zlatna, a huge old chimney dominates the landscape. It was built during the industrial boom at the end of the 19th or beginning of the 20th century. What once symbolized the progress of the metal industry is now the remnants of an abandoned factory, showing that even after prosperous periods, decline can follow. In the afternoon, I drive deeper into the mountains, where the rock formations become increasingly rugged. I begin the climb to Cheile Bicazului. The route I take is about 10 kilometers long, with an elevation gain of over 700 meters, so a decent level of fitness is required if you want to complete the trail. Along the way, I see several beautiful cottages typical of this area. With their thatched roofs, these wooden huts serve as shelter for livestock and storage for winter feed. The higher I climb, the wilder the landscape becomes. Once at the top of this steep mountainside, the view is breathtaking. The rugged rocks with the rolling mountain landscape in the background make the climb more than worthwhile. After a long descent, I return to my car after about 3.5 hours of walking. It's a wonderful place to end the day actively, enjoying a beautiful hike through nature. I wake up in the city of Cluj-Napoca, where my last day in Romania begins. I start the morning with a walk through the city, beginning at the Botanical Garden. This garden is one of the largest and most impressive in the country and is part of the university. It was established in 1920 for research, education, and the preservation of plants. It is not only a garden, but also a museum, where you can explore various seeds, plants, and fruits. The highlight of the garden are the greenhouses, where exotic plants can be found, including the giant water lily, a remarkable plant that I see in real life for the first time. The garden is laid out like a park, with numerous paths crisscrossing throughout. In the middle of the park stands an old water tower that you can climb for a beautiful view over a section of the garden. It is a peaceful oasis in the heart of the city, a place where nature and urban life come together perfectly. From here, I continue into the old town. Cluj-Napoca is the largest city in Transylvania and the second largest in the country. With over 330,000 inhabitants, it is also an important economic and cultural hub. Moreover, it is a center of education, thanks to the university founded here in 1919. This draws students from all over the country and beyond, keeping the city young and vibrant. At the heart of the city lies a large square surrounded by a mix of Baroque, Renaissance, and Secessionist architecture. With its beautiful facades and the imposing St. Michael's Cathedral at its center, this is the city's vibrant heart. This Gothic church dates back to the 14th century, and later Baroque and Renaissance elements were added. Through a hidden door, you can view the church from a completely different perspective. Cluj-Napoca is a beautiful city, and in combination with the Botanical Garden, it is definitely worth a visit. I continue my journey through the mountains, where yet again a stunning landscape unfolds, with dense forests and sparkling lakes. What strikes me here, as it has throughout my trip, is the tricolor flag of Romania, visible everywhere in the streetscape. From small flags on lampposts to huge banners at intersections, no matter how remote the location, a Romanian flag is always present. It truly symbolizes national pride, reminding everyone of the country's freedom, courage, and justice. Along the way, I come across a fascinating cave, which I decide to explore. A long staircase leads down into the depths, eventually opening into a large ice cave. As I descend, the temperature drops sharply, remarkable on such a warm day. Officially, this cave was discovered in the 19th century, but locals had known about it for centuries. While some ice layers have diminished over time, certain ice formations here are over 3,500 years old. The cave stretches 105 meters in length and 80 meters in width. It is a remarkable place where the forces of nature and time meet, one of the hidden wonders of the country. After another beautiful drive through the mountains, with scenic viewpoints along the way, I arrive at my final destination, Oradea. This Baroque city is located in the western part of the country, not far from the Hungarian border. It is known for its rich architecture and historic heritage. The city is home to many stunning buildings, including the City Hall, numerous churches, and the theater. One particularly remarkable structure is the Black Eagle Palace, a commercial passage built in 1907 with a glass roof and many decorative elements. Today, it serves partly as a shopping gallery and a tourist attraction. As the sun sets, the city takes on a completely different character. With the buildings illuminated, Oradea's center becomes magical. Walking through the city at night feels like stepping into another era, where the architecture and atmosphere come together perfectly. It is a beautiful end to my journey through this extraordinary country. The rugged Carpathians, where I came face to face with wild bears, were undoubtedly a highlight of this remarkable trip. But equally memorable were the stunning monasteries and medieval towns, each with its own unique story. And of course, the imposing medieval castles, which perfectly showcase the country's history. Romania is a land of contrasts, wild nature, rich history, and a lively country where past wealth and poverty are still visible. The country has amazed me in countless ways, and it is truly a destination I will never forget. If you missed the previous parts of my journey through the Czech Republic and Slovakia, be sure to check them out as well. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.